Before I begin this story, let me remind you that not everything that shines comes from clean hands. Some blessings arrive wrapped in curses. Some success stories end in silence. This is one of those stories. Please subscribe, like, and comment below. Tell me where you are watching from. I want to know which part of the world is listening tonight. Now, let us begin. In a bustling city, where ambition moved faster than mercy, there lived a young woman named Adana. She was 24 years old, beautiful in a quiet way, with dark eyes that seemed to carry old sadness. Adana was not born into wealth. Her father died when she was 12. Her mother sold vegetables in the market, barely making enough to feed 3 children. Adana was the eldest. She watched her mother's hands crack from hard work. She watched her younger siblings go to bed hungry on too many nights. She made a promise to herself then. One day, I will change everything, but promises are easy. Keeping them is where people break. Adana finished secondary school with excellent grades, but there was no money for university. She took a job as a sales girl in a small cosmetic shop. The pay was terrible. Her boss was cruel. Every night, Adana cried herself to sleep, wondering if this was all life had for her. Adana worked at the cosmetics shop for 2 years. Every morning, she woke up at 5, walked 40 minutes to save transport money, and opened the shop by 7. Her boss, Mrs. Okonkwo, was a hard woman with a sharp tongue. She shouted at Adana for the smallest mistakes and never praised her for anything. "You are too slow," Mrs. Okonkwo would yell. "You are lucky I even gave you this job. Girls like you should be grateful." Adana swallowed her pride daily. She needed the money. Her mother's health was getting worse. Her younger brother wanted to write his final exams, but had no money for the fees. Her sister needed shoes. The weight of responsibility pressed down on Adana like a heavy stone. One evening, a well-dressed woman entered the shop. She wore expensive perfume and gold jewelry that caught the light. She bought 3 lipsticks without checking the price. Adana watched her with quiet envy. "You are very beautiful," the woman said suddenly, looking at Adana. "What are you doing working here?" Adana was surprised. "I need the money, Ma," the woman smiled. "There are better ways to make money, you know? Faster ways." Adana's heart beat faster. "What do you mean?" The woman handed her a business card. "Call me if you are tired of suffering." Then she left. Adana stared at the business card for 3 days. It was simple, expensive looking. Just a name and a phone number. Madame Zina, no address, no business description. Nothing else. Her mind told her to throw it away. Her desperation told her to call. On the 3rd night, her mother collapsed in the market. The hospital said she needed surgery. The cost was more than Adana would earn in 6 months. Her siblings cried. Her mother lay weak on a hospital bed, trying to smile through her pain. That night, Adana made the call. "Hello." The voice was smooth, almost musical. "My name is Adana. You gave me your card." "Ah, yes. The beautiful girl from the cosmetic shop. I knew you would call. What kind of work do you have?" Madame Zina laughed softly. "Smart girl. Meet me tomorrow at Golden Pearl Hotel, room 408. Come alone. Tell no one." The phone went dead. Adana could not sleep that night. Every instinct told her this was dangerous. But desperation is a powerful drug. It makes people ignore warnings. It makes them walk into darkness, hoping to find light. The next day, Adana lied to her boss and went to the hotel. The Golden Pearl Hotel was the kind of place Adana had only seen in movies. Tall glass doors, marble floors, chandeliers that looked like frozen waterfalls. The security man looked at her with suspicion until she mentioned room 408. His expression changed immediately. "4th floor," he said quietly. "The elevator is that way." Adana's hands shook as she pressed the button. The elevator moved too fast. Her reflection in the mirror looked scared. She almost turned back. But then she thought of her mother lying in that hospital bed. Room 408 had double doors. Adana knocked. "Come in." "It's open." The room was huge, decorated in gold and cream. Madame Zina sat on a velvet sofa, wearing a red dress that probably cost more than Adana's yearly salary. She was older than Adana first thought, maybe 50, but her skin was flawless. "To flawless, sit down, my dear," Madame Zina said warmly. "Would you like something to drink?" "No, thank you." Adana sat carefully. "You said there was work. Direct. I like that." Madame Zina studied her. "Tell me, Adana, How badly do you want to succeed? Very badly. Are you willing to do whatever it takes? Adana hesitated. What does that mean? Madame Zena smiled. Let me tell you a story first. 20 years ago, Madame Zena began, I was just like you, poor, desperate, watching everyone else live while I merely survived. I had dreams, big dreams, but no money to achieve them. She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. Then I met someone who changed everything. She offered me a gift. A special gift that would guarantee success in whatever I pursued. Business, relationships, influence. Everything I touched would turn to gold. Adana leaned forward. What kind of gift? The kind that comes with conditions. Madame Zena turned to face her. I accepted it. Within 6 months, I owned 3 businesses. Within a year, I was a millionaire. Within 5 years, I was wealthier than I ever imagined possible. So what are the conditions? Madame Zena sat down again, closer this time. The gift must be passed on. Every 10 years, I must find someone worthy and offer them the same choice. If they accept, my blessings continue. If they refuse, everything I have built will crumble. Adana's skin felt cold. What exactly is this gift? Madame Zena reached into her purse and pulled out a small black box. Inside this box is a ring. Wear it, and success will follow you like a shadow. Opportunities will find you. Money will flow. Doors that were closed will swing open. And the price? Your voice. Adana stared at her. My voice. Not your physical voice, Madame Zena clarified. Your ability to speak the full truth about where your success comes from. You can never tell anyone about the ring, about this meeting, about the source of your fortune. If you do, everything will be taken away. And something worse will happen. What worse thing? Madame Zena's eyes went dark. You don't want to know. Just understand that silence is the only rule. Accept success, enjoy it. But never, ever reveal the source. Adana's mind raced. This sounded insane, supernatural, impossible. Yet here sat Madame Zena, dripping in wealth that seemed too perfect to be ordinary. How do I know this is real? Adana asked. Put on the ring. Wear it for 3 days. If nothing changes, return it. No harm done. But if things begin to shift, if opportunities appear, if money comes, then you'll know. Madame Zena opened the black box. Inside was a silver ring with a small red stone. It looked expensive, but not magical. It looked ordinary. 3 days, Madame Zena repeated. What do you have to lose? Adana thought of her mother, her siblings, her empty future. She reached for the ring. Her hand trembled as she slipped it onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Good, Madame Zena whispered. Now go, live your life. And remember, silence is survival. Adana left the hotel in a daze. The ring felt warm on her finger, almost alive. She told herself this was foolishness. Rings didn't create success. Hard work did. Yet something in Madame Zena's eyes had been too certain, to knowing. That evening, Adana visited her mother in the hospital. The doctor was just leaving the room. Miss Adana. He called. I have good news. An anonymous donor has paid for your mother's surgery. Everything is covered. Adana's legs went weak. What to who? We don't know. The payment came through this afternoon. Your mother's surgery is scheduled for tomorrow morning. Adana looked down at the ring. It seemed to pulse with a faint warmth. Coincidence, she told herself. Just coincidence. The next day, her mother's surgery was successful. Within a week, she was recovering well. Adana should have felt pure joy. Instead, she felt a creeping unease. On the 3rd day, after receiving the ring, Mrs. Okonkwo called Adana into her office. I'm closing this shop, she announced. But I'm offering you a severance package. 1 year's salary. Adana was shocked. 1 year's salary. But I've only worked here 2 years. Mrs. Okonkwo looked uncomfortable. Just take it. I had a dream. I was told to bless you. I don't understand it myself, but here's the money. Adana walked out with more cash than she'd ever held. The ring grew warmer. Within 2 weeks, Adana's life transformed completely. A former classmate called her out of nowhere, offering her a job as a personal assistant to a wealthy businesswoman. The salary was 10 times what she earned at the cosmetics shop. I don't know why, her classmate said, but my boss specifically asked for you. She said she saw you somewhere and felt you were the right person. Adana took the job. Her new boss, Chief Mrs. Nakemdi, was kind and generous. She mentored Adana, teaching her about business, investments, and networking. Within 3 months, Chief Mrs. Nakemdi made Adana a junior partner in one of her companies. "You have something special," Chief Mrs. Nakemdi told her. "I can't explain it, but opportunities follow you. People trust you instantly. Use this gift wisely." Adana smiled and said nothing. The ring's rule echoed in her mind. Silence is survival. Money began flowing. Adana moved her family to a better house. She paid for her brother's university fees and her sister's school expenses. She bought her mother a small shop. Everything she touched seemed blessed. People started noticing. "Adana, you've changed so fast," her neighbor said with envy in her voice. "What's your secret?" "Hard work," Adana replied smoothly. "Just hard work and God's favor." But the neighbor's eyes lingered on her, suspicious and resentful. Adana learned quickly that success breeds jealousy faster than it breeds friendships. 1 year after receiving the ring, Adana was unrecognizable from the struggling sales girl she once was. She owned 2 businesses, lived in a luxury apartment, and drove a new car. Her transformation was so dramatic that people whispered, "It's not ordinary," they said. "Nobody rises that fast without help. She must have a rich sponsor," others claimed. "Probably some married man, or maybe she's using juju," the boldest one suggested. Adana heard the rumors. They stung, but she learned to ignore them. Madame Zina had warned her. Success always attracts suspicion. Let them talk. Your silence is your power. Adana kept the ring on always. She never took it off, not even to shower. It had become part of her, warm and constant against her skin. One evening, an old friend from secondary school, Kiyamaka, visited her. "Adana, this is amazing," Kiyamaka said, looking around the beautiful apartment. "I'm so happy for you. But tell me the truth. How did you really do this?" Adana smiled. "I worked hard. I was blessed with good opportunities." "Come on," Kiyamaka pressed. "You can tell me. We're friends. Did you meet someone? Do you have a mentor?" "I'm struggling too. I need help." The ring suddenly felt hot, almost burning. Adana's throat tightened. "There's nothing to tell, Kiyamaka. I just got lucky." Kiyamaka's face hardened. "Lucky, right?" She left shortly after, and their friendship cooled. As Adana's wealth grew, so did the whispers. People who once ignored her now wanted her attention. Men pursued her aggressively. Women befriended her with fake smiles. Everyone wanted something. Adana learned to recognize the hunger in people's eyes. The desperation. The same desperation she once carried. Sometimes she wanted to help them, to share her secret. But the ring would burn as a warning. Silence, always silence. One afternoon, Adana received a call from an unknown number. "Hello, Adana." It was Madame Zina's voice. Smooth as silk. "Madame Zina, it's been a year." "Yes, I've been watching your progress. You've done well. Better than most, thank you. But I'm calling to remind you of something important. The ring has given you much. Soon, it will ask for something in return." Adana's heart raced. "What do you mean?" "You said the only condition was silence." "Silence is the first condition," Madame Zina corrected. "But every blessing requires balance. You've received wealth, health, and success. Now the ring will test your character. How you handle this test will determine whether you keep everything or lose it all." "What test?" "You'll know when it comes. Remember, Adana, the ring doesn't just give. It also reveals who you truly are." The line went dead. Adana stared at the phone, fear crawling up her spine. What test? What did the ring want from her? That night, she couldn't sleep. The ring felt heavier than usual. The test came 3 days later in the form of a desperate woman. Her name was Blessing. She was a distant cousin Adana barely remembered. Blessing appeared at Adana's office, thin and exhausted, carrying a sleeping baby. "Adana, please," Blessing begged. "My husband left me. I have no job. My landlord is throwing me out tomorrow. I need help. Just enough for 1 month's rent and some food, please." Adana looked at her. The old Adana, the one who had suffered, would have helped immediately. But now, something inside her hesitated. She had worked hard for this success. Why should she give it away to someone who probably made bad choices? The ring pulsed warmly, as if encouraging this thought. "Blessing," Adana said carefully, "I can't just give money to everyone who asks. How do I know you won't waste it? How do I know you're not lying?" Blessing's eyes filled with tears. "I'm your cousin. I'm not lying. I'm desperate. Everyone's desperate," Adana replied coldly. "That's not my problem." The words came out easily, naturally. Adana barely recognized her own voice. Blessing left crying, clutching her baby. Adana returned to work, unbothered. But that night, the ring began to burn. Not just warm, burning. Adana tried to pull it off. It wouldn't move. The pain increased. She screamed, running cold water over her hand. Nothing helped. Finally, exhausted, she collapsed on her bed. The burning stopped. But Adana knew something had changed. The next morning, Adana woke to find small cracks appearing on the ring's red stone. She panicked and called Madame Zina. "The ring is cracking," Adana said urgently. "What does that mean?" Madame Zina's voice was serious. "It means you failed the first test." "What test?" "Blessing. Was I supposed to give her money?" "The test wasn't about the money, Adana. It was about whether success would harden your heart. The ring amplifies what's already inside you. If you have compassion, it increases your ability to help others. If you have greed, it feeds that instead. So what happens now? The ring gives you 3 chances. 3 tests. Fail all 3, and everything you've gained will be stripped away. But it won't just take your wealth. It will take something deeper. What could be deeper than everything I have? Your ability to ever feel satisfied again. You'll spend the rest of your life chasing success, but never reaching it. Always hungry. Always empty. That's the true curse." Adana's hand shook. "How do I pass the next test?" "You don't plan for it. You just face it when it comes. And Adana, choose carefully. The ring is watching." For the first time since receiving the ring, Adana felt genuine fear. She had been so focused on gaining success that she never considered what it was costing her soul. 2 months passed. The crack in the ring remained, a constant reminder of her failure. Adana tried to be more generous. She donated to charity. She helped her family. But everything felt forced, calculated. The ring knew the difference between genuine kindness and performance. Then the second test arrived. A young woman named Ifema started working as Adana's secretary. She was bright, hardworking, and humble. She reminded Adana of herself years ago. Ifema was studying part-time, struggling to pay her fees while supporting her sick father. One day, Chief Mrs. Nakembi offered Adana a promotion. It came with a significant raise and more authority. But there was a condition. "We're restructuring," Chief Mrs. Nakembi explained. "We need to cut costs. I'm giving you the power to decide which employee to let go. Choose wisely." Adana knew immediately who was most vulnerable. Ifema. She was the newest, the least connected. Firing her would be easiest. No one would question it. But Ifema was also the most desperate. Losing this job would destroy her. The ring grew warm on Adana's finger, waiting. This was the test. Adana could feel it. She had 2 choices. Protect her own advancement by sacrificing Ifema, or protect Ifema and possibly risk her own position. That night, Adana lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The old Adana would have chosen compassion without thinking. But success had changed her, made her harder, more selfish. The next morning, Adana made her decision. She would fire Ifema and take the promotion. It was just business, she told herself. Nothing personal. She called Ifema into her office. The young woman sat down, smiling innocently, unaware of what was coming. "Ifema," Adana began, her voice professional and cold. "Due to company restructuring, we have to let you go. Today is your last day." Ifema's smile disappeared. "What? But I've been working so hard. Did I do something wrong?" "It's not about performance. It's about costs. Please, Ma. I need this job. My father is sick. My school fees are due. Please don't do this." Adana looked at her and saw herself years ago, begging for mercy that never came. For a moment, something inside her cracked. But the ring pulsed warmly, encouraging her cruelty. "I'm sorry," Adana said. "The decision is final." Ifema left crying. Adana accepted the promotion that same day. But when she returned home that evening, the ring had a second crack. Deeper than the first, Adana tried to remove it. It burned her skin. She screamed and called Madame Zina. "You failed again," Madame Zina said quietly. "One more failure, and you're finished." "I didn't know it was a test." "Life is always a test, Adana. The ring doesn't create your character. It reveals it. You chose success over compassion. Twice. What do I do? Wait for the final test. And this time, choose better. Because there are no more chances. Weeks passed. Adana became paranoid, analyzing every interaction, every decision, wondering if it was the final test. The two cracks in the ring seemed to pulse like warning lights. Her success continued, but it felt hollow now. Every achievement felt temporary, conditional. She couldn't enjoy anything, constantly afraid of losing it all. One evening, Adana's mother called her. "Ada, I need to talk to you about something serious." They met at her mother's house. Her mother looked worried. "Ada, people are talking. They say your success is not ordinary. They say you're involved in something dark. Mama, people are just jealous. Maybe, but I'm your mother. I know you. You've changed. You've become cold. I barely recognize you anymore." Adana felt defensive. "I've become successful. That's what you wanted, isn't it? For me to lift this family out of poverty, not at the cost of your soul." Her mother reached for her hand. "Whatever you're doing, whatever agreement you've made, it's not worth it. Come back to yourself, Ada. Come back to us." Adana pulled her hand away. "There's nothing to come back from. I'm fine." But she wasn't fine. She could feel herself slipping, becoming someone she didn't recognize. The ring had given her everything she wanted, but it was taking everything she was. That night, unable to sleep, Adana did something she hadn't done in months. She prayed. Really prayed. Not asking for more success, but for wisdom, for help, for a way out. The final test came when Adana least expected it. She was at a business conference, networking with potential investors. A man approached her. He was handsome, well-dressed, and charming. His name was Chukwudi. "Adana," he said warmly, "I've heard great things about your businesses. I'd like to discuss a partnership." They talked for hours. Chukwudi was intelligent and ambitious. He had a business proposal that could triple Adana's wealth within a year. But there was a catch. The investment requires liquid capital, Chukwudi explained. "I need a partner who can contribute 5 million naira upfront. The returns will be massive, guaranteed, 5 million naira. Adana had it. But it was everything she had liquid. If the investment failed, she would lose it all. "I'll think about it," Adana said. Over the next week, Chukwudi pursued her aggressively. He showed her projections, testimonials, everything that made the deal look perfect. To perfect, Adana did her research. She discovered that Chukwudi had a history of fraudulent schemes. The investment was a scam. If she gave him the money, it would disappear. But then Chukwudi made another offer. "Adana, I'll be honest with you. I know you're smart. You probably discovered my past. Yes, I've made mistakes. But this time is different. Partner with me, and I'll give you 70% of the profits instead of 50. Think about it. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Adana faced an impossible choice. Every logical bone in her body said no. Chukwudi was a known fraudster. Trusting him would be foolish, but the ring began to pulse, warm, insistent. It wanted her to take the risk. It wanted her to choose greed over wisdom. Adana realized this was the final test. Not about compassion this time, but about discernment. About knowing when enough was enough. She thought about everything. Her journey. Her mother's words. The two cracks in the ring. The person she used to be versus the person she had become. For the first time in 2 years, Adana made a decision that went against the ring's pull. "Chukwudi," she said firmly, "I'm not interested." "Thank you, but no." His face hardened. "You're making a mistake. This opportunity won't come again. I'm fine with that." The moment she refused, the ring burned intensely. Adana gasped, clutching her hand. The burning lasted only seconds, but it felt like forever. When it stopped, she looked down. The ring had completely shattered. Tiny pieces of silver and red stone fell to the floor. Her finger was bare. Adana's phone rang immediately. "Madame Zina, congratulations," the older woman said. "You passed." "What?" "The final test was about knowing when to stop, when to reject more. You chose wisdom over greed. The ring is broken, but you're free." "Free? What does that mean?" "It means your success is now yours to keep. No more tests. No more conditions. But also no more supernatural help." Adana sat in her apartment that night, staring at the broken pieces of the ring. She felt strange, lighter somehow, but also uncertain. What happens now? She had asked Madame Zena before hanging up. Now you live with what you built. Some of it will stay. Some may crumble. That's the nature of freedom. You're no longer protected, but you're no longer bound either. Over the following weeks, Adana noticed changes. Some business deals fell through. Some opportunities dried up. The supernatural momentum was gone. But other things remained. The businesses she had built with actual skill continued to thrive. The relationship she had nurtured with genuine care remained strong. Chief Mrs. Nakemni called her to her office one day. Adana, I've noticed something different about you lately. You seem more grounded. More real. I feel more real, Adana admitted. Good, because I'm offering you a full partnership in the company. Not because of luck or favor, but because you've earned it through your work. Adana accepted with genuine gratitude. This success felt different, earned, true. She also tracked down Ifeoma, the secretary she had fired. She found her working at a small shop, struggling again. Ifeoma, Adana said quietly, I'm sorry for what I did. It was wrong. I'd like to offer you a better position in my company. If you'll accept. Ifeoma stared at her, surprised. Why now? Because I'm trying to become the person I should have been all along. Ifeoma accepted. Their relationship started rocky but slowly grew into genuine mutual respect. 3 years after the ring shattered, Adana's life had stabilized. She was still successful, but it was a different kind of success. Earned through effort, maintained through integrity. She started a mentorship program for young women from poor backgrounds, girls like she once was. She taught them business skills, but also warned them about shortcuts. Success that comes too easily often costs too much. She told them, build slowly. Build with your hands and your mind. It's harder, but it's yours. The rumors about her eventually faded. People found new subjects for gossip. Adana learned to live quietly, generously, and peacefully. One evening, her mother visited her. Ada, I don't know what happened to you 3 years ago, but I have my daughter back. The real one. That's all that matters. Adana hugged her mother and cried. Real tears. Not tears of desperation or fear, but tears of relief. She never saw Madame Zena again. But sometimes, late at night, she wondered about the ring. About the price she almost paid. About the person she almost became. She also wondered about the next person. Because Madame Zena had said she must pass the gift on every 10 years. Somewhere out there, another desperate person was receiving that black box, slipping on that ring, making that same choice Adana once made. Would they pass the tests? Would they break free? Or would they fail and lose everything, including themselves? Adana didn't know. But she prayed for them anyway. Life moved forward. Adana's businesses continued to grow steadily. She married a good man named Emeka, an engineer who loved her for who she was, not what she owned. They had a daughter they named Chinasa, which meant God answers. On Chinasa's 3rd birthday, something unexpected happened. A package arrived at Adana's house. No return address. Inside was a letter and a small black box. Adana's hands trembled as she opened the letter. Dear Adana, 10 years have passed since I gave you the ring. According to the covenant, you must now pass it on to another. Inside this box is a new ring. Find someone desperate, someone worthy, and offer them the choice. You know the rules. You know the consequences of refusal. You have 1 month. Choose wisely. Madame Zena. Adana stared at the box in horror. She thought she was free. She thought it was over. She called the number she had from Madame Zena. Disconnected. She tried to find her online. Nothing. Madame Zena had disappeared like smoke. Emeka found her sitting on the floor, crying. Ada, what's wrong? She couldn't tell him. The rule of silence still applied. Even after all these years, even with the ring broken, she couldn't speak the full truth. Nothing, she lied. Just stress, but it wasn't nothing. The covenant wasn't finished with her. She had 1 month to find someone and pass on the curse disguised as blessing. Adana spent days in agony. She looked at the black box sitting on her dresser like a ticking bomb. She couldn't do it. She couldn't give this burden to another desperate soul, but the letter had been clear. Consequences of refusal. On the 20th day, Adana woke up to find her daughter sick. High fever. The doctors couldn't explain it. Every test came back normal, but Chinasa's condition worsened daily. On the 25th day, her business partner called. Adana, something strange is happening. Our accounts are draining. Money is disappearing. Our suppliers are backing out. It's like we're cursed. Adana knew what was happening. The covenant was punishing her hesitation. On the 28th day, with only 2 days left, Adana made a decision. She took the black box and drove to the poorest part of the city. She walked through the streets until she found what she was looking for. A young woman, maybe 20, sitting outside a closed shop, crying. Adana approached her. "What's wrong?" The woman looked up. "I just lost my job. My mother needs medicine. I don't know what to do." Adana's heart broke. This woman was her, 10 years ago. Same desperation, same pain, same vulnerability. She could give her the box, offer her the ring, save herself and her family. Instead, Adana did something different. She gave the woman money, real money from her pocket. "For your mother's medicine," Adana said. "And take my card. Come to my office tomorrow. I'll give you a job." The woman stared at Adana in shock. "Why? You don't know me." "I know desperation," Adana replied. "I know what it's like to need mercy." Adana walked away, leaving the black box in her car. She drove home, expecting disaster. She had refused to pass on the ring. She had broken the covenant. Whatever consequences came, she would face them. That night, Chinasa's fever broke. She woke up smiling, asking for food. The next morning, Adana's business partner called with good news. The financial crisis had mysteriously resolved itself. Confused but relieved, Adana opened the black box. The ring was gone. In its place was a note. "You chose correctly." The final test was never about passing on the curse. It was about breaking the cycle. "You are truly free now. The covenant is ended." Madame Zina, Adana collapsed to her knees, crying. It was over. Really over. She burned the box that night, watching the flames consume the last physical reminder of those dark years. Emeka found her watching the fire. "Ada, are you okay?" She looked at him and smiled. "Yes, for the first time in 10 years, I'm completely okay." He didn't understand, but he held her anyway. Some burdens are carried alone. Some victories are silent. Adana had won hers. She had faced the darkness and chosen light. Years passed. Adana never spoke about the ring to anyone. Not to Emeka, not to her mother, not even to Chinasa when she grew old enough to ask about her mother's mysterious past. Some secrets are kept not because of shame, but because they belong to another version of yourself. A version you've outgrown. A version you've forgiven, but don't need to revisit. Adana's businesses continued to thrive, but she ran them differently now. She paid her employees well. She mentored young women generously. She gave to charity not for recognition, but because she remembered what it was like to desperately need help. The woman she had given money to that final day. Her name was Ngozi, became one of her most trusted employees and eventually a close friend. One day, Ngozi asked her, "Why did you help me that day?" "You didn't know me," Adana smiled. "Someone once told me that every blessing requires balance. I had received so much. It was time to give back, but you give too many people." "Why me specifically?" "Because you reminded me of who I used to be. And I wanted better for you than what I almost became." Ngozi didn't fully understand, but she felt the weight of gratitude anyway. Adana often thought about Madame Zina. Was she real? Was any of it real? Or had the ring simply been a mirror, reflecting back the darkness and light that already existed within her? On the 20th anniversary of receiving the ring, Adana decided to do something she had never done before. She wrote down the entire story. Every detail. The ring, the tests, the covenant, the price of silence. She sealed it in an envelope addressed to Chinasa with instructions to open it only after Adana's death. "Why are you writing this?" Emeka asked, watching her seal the envelope. "Because some lessons need to be passed down," Adana replied. "Not as warnings that create fear, but as wisdom that creates strength." She placed the envelope in their family safe, next to other important documents. That night, Adana had a dream. She was back in that hotel room, young and desperate, facing Madame Zina. But this time, when Madame Zina offered the box, Adana said no. "I don't need your ring." "Dream," Adana said. "I'll build my success the slow way. The hard way. The real way." Madame Zina smiled. "Then you've already won." Adana woke up peacefully. The dream felt like closure, like forgiveness, like freedom. She looked at Emeka sleeping beside her, at the photo of Chinasa on the nightstand. At the life she had built not through shortcuts, but through choices, mistakes, corrections, and growth, success had come. But more importantly, her soul had survived. And in the end, that was the real victory. Now, as I finish this story, let me ask you something. If someone offered you guaranteed success, wealth that came without effort, opportunities that appeared like magic, would you take it? Think carefully before you answer. Because every gift has a price. Sometimes the price is money. Sometimes it's time. Sometimes it's something deeper. Something you don't realize you're losing until it's almost gone. Adana's story is not just about a magical ring. It's about the person we become when we chase success without wisdom. It's about the tests life gives us when we gain power. It's about whether wealth makes us more compassionate or more cruel. The ring was never truly magic. It was a mirror. It revealed who Adana was when nobody was watching. When she had power over others. When she could choose between her comfort and someone else's survival. We all wear invisible rings. Rings of privilege. Rings of opportunity. Rings of choice. The question is not whether we have them, but what we do with them. Will you hoard your blessings or share them? Will success harden your heart or expand it? Will you remember where you came from, or will you despise those still struggling in the place you once stood? These are the real tests. Not supernatural ones, but daily ones. And unlike Adana, most of us won't get 3 chances. We get 1 life, 1 character, 1 legacy. Choose wisely. Thank you for listening to this story. Please subscribe, like, and comment below. Tell me, if you were Adana, what would you have done differently? Would you have taken the ring? Would you have passed the tests? I want to hear from you. Because your answer reveals more about you than you might realize. Until the next story, remember this, they said her success was not ordinary. They were right. But not because of magic. Because she learned that true success is measured not by what you gain, but by who you remain while gaining it. See you in the next story.